Alrighty, good evening everybody and welcome to round 15 of the Race Spec Pacific Series. We're here for Tier 4 action at Suzuka. Challenging circuit, so it's going to be a fun one. I'm Bodhod. I will be commentating this evening as I do every week for these guys. We'll see what this race throws up. Plenty of guys leaving the pits nice and early. Get the feel for the track. Really important lap to nail actually to find the lap time. You really have to hit your apexes, know which curbs you can and can't take, and make sure you stay in control of your car, as there are a lot of places you can be in your race. We might ride on board with who's the front car? I think it is our championship leader Macedonian. Yeah, so we might ride on board with Macedonian for our first lap here just to get a bit of a guide around the circuit. We'll wait till he starts his lap just so we can find our way around. I will pull up the championship standings while we just wait for these guys to start their laps. Currently it is Macedonian in the lead, I believe. Yes, it is, by 27 points, so he's got a race to win in hand over P2 One Slick Mofo in the Renault, who's been driving very well lately. Then we've got another 33-point gap back to Lunacy, so some big gaps up the top. Another 42 back to BMAC, another 29 to ID Chang. So they are your top 5, and then from there on after it gets very, very close. But those top 5 quite separated, so someone's going to have to take some drastic action in order to stop Macedonian, who's been incredibly consistent, clearly a quick driver week in, week out. But we'll ride on board here, we'll take all this stuff off and get a pure lap experience on board with Macedonian in the Haas. Starting on the medium tyres, so it probably won't be the pole time, it would be magical if it was. But we'll let him guide us around the track. Tough into turn 1. Turn 1 pretty much is flat. You want to brake probably just after the apex and hit turn 2 apex. Now through this tough X section, one of the most difficult complexes on the calendar. It's a real balancing act to decide which curves to take and which to not, as some of them can really throw the car out. But you really want to hit all of those apexes, plus some if you can. Now 2 Degners or Dunlops. I have to do my research on that one. 2 tough right-handers. First one pretty much flat. The second one, the tight, tricky braking zone, a bit underrated. Now into the hairpin, slowest corner of the track. Important to get traction now. You can take it a lot quicker than a lot of people think you can. But the exit's really important because of this long right-hander heading to the spoon. Another difficult corner on the track. Double left-handed apex. You're going to hit this. Shift down a couple of gears. Don't run out wide because that's an instant warning. When qualifying, bin valid lap. Hit 4 and get on the power. Around about gear 4, sorry. Get on the power as soon as you can. Onto this long straight into 130R, which is not as treacherous as it historically has been. They have opened up the corner in recent years, but still a somewhat dangerous corner. Then into the last couple of corners here. Tight chicane. We'll probably see a couple of moves into that chicane, one of the better overtaking spots. Around the final couple of corners, around the last one. No bump this year, which is great, and you'll come across the line instead of 128.3, which should get beaten on soft tyres. But nice, relatively tidy lap there for Macedonia. Now we know our way around. Let's go on board. Looks like we might ride on board with an Alfa Romeo on the back straight. Currently F1 boy, quickest of the 3 guys who have set lap. Plenty more guys coming in. Field of 16 tonight, which is a good turnout. We like seeing more drivers on the grid, always makes things more interesting. Holden Mendan will come across the line. He's not going to finish the lap. He'll do a 130, probably wants to give the mediums a go. Speaking of giving the mediums a go, One Slick Mofo, our other championship contender, is on the mediums. And if Mofo is serious about competing in this championship, now's the time to perform. He needs to get some wins. He needs to get points back on Macedonian, who has raced pretty much flawlessly for the majority of the season, just being in the right place at the right time and reaping the rewards. Mofo goes 4 tenths quicker than Macedonian on those mediums. Only a couple tenths off pole actually at the moment, so Mofo looking pretty pacey. I guess Macedonian's ultimate pace hasn't necessarily been the absolute quickest. It's always kind of been top 3, top 5 worthy, but his racecraft and his consistency in the race is what has given him the championship lead. And that's something to be very proud of for him, I think. In terms of the constructors, we might mention that as well. Haas are quite comfortably in the lead. They have a 73-point gap over Ferrari. Haas has shown some good pace lately as well. He's got a couple of yellows around the place, probably just guys getting out of the way. Suskus no Cookies at 27.5. But yeah, him and Mastonian been on a tear in the constructors. Ferrari, Lunacy and Honest Crook. Lunacy fairly consistently towards the front, Honest Crook up and down sometimes. And that gap to Renault behind is quite small, so that's the constructors fight for P2, which is still nice and close. Then you got Racing Point a fair way back, and then Red Bull and AlphaTauri behind them, and those two are quite close. So we'll see what the Red Bull guys can do against each other in terms of the two teams. But yeah, Haas well in control of the Constructors' Championship at the moment. New driver Predictor, I'm not sure if he's full-time or reserving. Apologies about that. But it's good to see him on the grid for the first time in the Red Bull, taking over. I think it's BMAC's seat. I think BMAC is a Red Bull driver. Good to see a new face on the grid. We'll see what his pace is like in the race. Hopefully he's gone for a couple of qualifying laps here. Well, actually right on forward with the Red Bull. As he's run wide, and that's the last thing you want to do. He's going round. Can he keep it out of the fence? He does well to stop that. Really treacherous there. You don't want to take too much of that inside curve there, or you have to send the car left. And you don't run one wide because that will send the car right. So I really want to nail that apex there. Probably one of the most difficult corners actually on the track, that right-hander after the S's. Right-hander, what am I talking about? Left-hander. Yes, the fast left-hander is difficult and somewhat underrated, I think, in my opinion, in terms of the challenge it provides. But yeah, as mentioned earlier, a couple of really difficult places to get right. And the one thing that makes Suzuka special is when you do get it right, it feels absolutely fantastic. I know a lot of guys don't like this track because of the difficulty, and it's quite hard, particularly on a control, to get that S section right. But when you do nail it, it's just about the most satisfying thing on the game. Speaking of nailing it, P White's nailed a P10 spot for now. He'll have a couple more laps to do though to get himself a bit further up the grid. Have we got anyone else on a lap? Is Dan the racer on a lap? No, he's not. How about Barretto in the McLaren this week? No, he's coming in. I think Barretto raced in the Renault last week and was going pretty well until him and his teammate Van Mofo had an incident. So Barretto now in the McLaren. We'll see if he has any better luck there. Pairing up with the Matata, who's currently sitting in P3. He's looked likely. Hasn't quite had things go his way. A couple of incidents in the last few weeks, but Matata, I wonder if this could be his week to grab a podium. We've seen a lot of podium getters in this tier, which is great to see. As that Predictor is, no, he's coming into the pits to get a bit of a funny glitch there. And I don't think anybody is on a lap. P White's on a lap, so we'll run above P White again. He's the only car on a lap at the moment. A couple of guys on out laps, so we'll make sure we catch those when those laps start. I'm not sure if P White's actually on a hot lap here, but we'll right with him anyway. He didn't overtake, not overtake, sorry, hot lap ERS mode, so that would indicate he is pushing. Is he up on his time? He gets a tiny bit of a toe. He's slightly down his time. If he can nail this last chicane, there's plenty of time in there to be found. We'll see what he can do. Heavy braking, hits the right, the left. You can cut those a tiny bit at risk of unsettling the car, and he's actually gone wide to avoid the Ferrari on this Cook, who is starting life on medium, so we might run on board with him actually. He'll be hoping to probably put himself around about the 10. The softs will be a second at least quicker per lap. Well, on a hot lap at least, in qualifying, which is what matters now. But if you start on those mediums, you might be able to stretch him. We should probably talk about race strategy though. Soft to hard is probably the best strategy, but if you're kind of on your tyres, you can maybe do a soft to medium. But it's going to be really close. You can have absolutely cooked tyres. I think if you start outside the top 10, you could maybe do a medium to soft. But starting inside of 10, if you qualify on softs, that's going to be really hard to do. So probably not recommended. So we'll probably see a lot of the guys go a soft to hard as we've got RD Cheng's in the gravel. Not the place you want to be. Probably just run a bit wide on his hot lap. There's a slow McLaren ahead as well. I wonder if they've had a bit of a coming together, although they're both in that lap, so probably unlikely. But that's that lap gone for RD Cheng's, who's shown some pretty good pace in some races, which is great to see. It's just about getting consistently right up top, I think, for him. And then he can start challenging for the wins when he gets that consistency down. But both racing points. They've been there or thereabouts in most races. Lucy has retired, and that is on track. That's big there. So championship contender. We're right on board here with P. White, who'll be coming up to it. You should see his car on the left. It is on the left there. So he's not just been lapped in the Tier 3 race, but he has retired for the Tier 4 race, or the qualifying session. So he's actually done a decent time of 27.583, but he won't have the chance to improve. That is on soft tyres, so if he can stay in the top kind of 3 or 4, that won't be so bad, but that is definitely a setback for him. I'm sure he would have rather started on those soft tyres and get a bit more pace out of his quality lap, but P2 is not the worst place to be. At least he has got a lap on the board, so that's good there for P. White. Suscast goes quickest with a 27.1, which is actually quite a quick lap. We should see pole in the low 27s, possibly 26.9 if someone's going to hook it up. I think in the Tier 3 race we were about the mid 26s, so that'd be about right. If someone can get a mid 20, a low 27, like a 27 flat or a 26.9, then they'll definitely be on track for a pole position. Let's see if anyone does have that pace. Looks like someone may have gone off again in the middle sector. I can't quite see what car it is. It might be a McLaren. Sorry, just trying to pick the car out. Yeah, I think something might have happened to Breatho there, but not too sure. A couple more guys coming across to set their laps. Holderman and Dan is coming through the final couple of corners now. Hit those apexes nicely, get them the power as soon as you can. That was quite nice, and he's going to come into the pits. Of course he is. Drow, haven't seen him yet. He's doing some... Oh, that's a big moment there for Drow. He's probably a bit lucky to not knock that wheel off. Those kind of barriers can be deadly. But unfortunate there for Drow. As soon as he flicked onto him, he was driving in reverse, as P. White has also retired, and he's done that at the same place as Lunacy actually. So a couple of guys already getting caught out. Who's that coming through? Artie Cheng, so he'll be on the left hand side again. Yeah, literally the exact same place as Lunacy on the left hand side there, so getting caught in that inside curb I think, so not ideal. He's 11, so he's not going to be at the 10, he'll get fresh tyres anyway. But that is a setback definitely, and probably dents confidence a bit, which is the last thing you want around a track like this. John Boyd with Macedonian finishing his lap. He's 1.2 seconds up on his best times. This is going to be potentially pole position for now. Come around the final corner. It is a 26.6, which is a fantastic time. That is a great time. That would have put him, I think, P2 in Tier 3, which is fantastic there for Macedonian. So asserting some authority. What does Mofo have in reply in terms of the championship? He's going to need to get himself in the fight with Macedonian, but Haas 1-2, showing once again why they are top of the constructors, looking really well, looking quick as usual. Shimatara will stay on this lap, and then we'll try and find some guys we haven't seen on stream yet. We haven't seen too much of the Williams. Candy Kane's on an out lap, so we'll flip to him when he starts his lap. There is a Haas off in the second sector, but we won't worry about that too much. I think it's just cooling down. But a Shimatara around the final corner, he will set a time good enough for P2 of 26.9, so some guys touching on 26s now, which is good. That's the pace you want to be, I think, if you want to contend for a podium. So good lap there for Shimatara. We might flick to the Williams guys. You haven't seen Lahardo yet. He's coming around turn 1 to start his lap. I think his teammate is about 20 seconds in front of him, F1 boy, who's looked likely in a couple of races. We've seen him in a couple of great battles in this tier, which is good to see. As we've got a McLaren off there, just doing a couple of donuts in the gravel. I would save those for after the race if I was you, but your call. Lahardo a tiny bit down in the first sector on his best time, but plenty more corners still to make it up. We'll see if he can improve. We'll flick on board for the hairpin here, get the car nice and stopped. Misses the apex slightly and runs, oh, he's got the power a tiny bit early. That's cost him a lot of lap time. So this lap definitely won't be an improvement now, unfortunately. Just tried to get on the power a tad early and understeered out wide, so not ideal there. We might put to his teammate F1 boy though, who we mentioned was a bit ahead. He's 3.5 tenths up at his best. This could put him into the top 5 if he can hang on to this time, and it will, top 5. So 5th for F1 boy, 27.7, so that's a decent lap there, but over a second off P1. The gaps at the top are really big actually. IE Chang's popped himself P5, actually knocking F1 boy down to 6th. We might jump with Candy Cane though, who we haven't seen this quality session yet. Heavy braking into the hairpin, gets the car stopped and doesn't accelerate too early. Possibly could even got a tad earlier there, but he's kept it on the black stop, which is the most important thing. I'll see how he takes the spoon here. We'll stay on board. This is the first left. He's going to run slightly wide if it doesn't go out off the track. Taking a really wide approach through there. Probably could maybe get the car slightly well turned in, but possibly running a lower downforce setup for the race with a bit less front wing. That could be quite useful around a track like here, where your main overtaking zones are going to be at the end of the straights. But Candy Cane hanging on to his lap for now. We'll jump off board as he comes around the final couple of corners. Can he hang on to the lap? He can. It's not invalid. And he's going to come around the final corner, open that DRS just before the line. He's going to jump to P10 as F1 boys retired. I think that's on track. That is on track, I think. And there's also a Red Bull off. He's doing some donuts out there as well. So a couple of guys. Pradeepa has retired on track, which is not legal. Maybe someone hasn't told him. And Lahardo has retired in the pit lane, I believe, as well. Candy Cane on a cooldown, who is on a hot lap. Drow was, but he's gone wide again, so that's twice we've seen him wide there, trying to push the pace, I think, as much as he can, but going slightly over that time, which is not what he would have wanted. Who's on a lap? I think Cuss may have just started a lap. We've got a bit of a... Oh, Candy Cane's parked on the apex, which is not the way to go. Luckily, Drow wasn't on a hot lap. Speaking of, we've got a bit of a mess up here. People are trying to sort themselves out. All these guys are on out laps, so no one's really blocking each other technically, but I'm sure they'd rather sort themselves out before they start their final laps. Suscos will be the first one of the contenders. Actually, he's gone into zero, so he's already made a mistake, and he's not going to have a chance to improve. So Suscos will be at most in P3, but we'll see if anyone can knock him off those top few positions. Drow's not on a lap, Candy Cane's not on a lap. Bretho, I think, just started one. He's coming through the fast right-handers, 1/10 up at the moment, so he might be able to jump a couple of positions if he can find a tad more time into the hairpin. Heavy brake a bit wide on the entry, but gets the car over to the right-hand side, which is an important bit for the hairpin. Get the power down as soon as possible. Get the car in stock there. Drow has retired as well in the pits, which is the right way to do it. Bretho still on this lap, which is good. And he's put in a ball. So Bretho is done for the session. And I think he's just retired on track 2. Which drivers are reminded to not do, as it may block other people. But it looks like people are now finishing their laps. Macedonian is the quickest. Shumatara's jumped into P3, P2, sorry, my bad. Dan the Racer is on a lap. Mofo is just ahead of him, so I might actually put Mofo first. Softcast is retired as well, so lots of guys retiring because they don't have time to do a lap. Mofo will stay on board with him though. Can he do anything about Macedonian? He needs to at least validate this lap though, because P9 is not the place you want to be starting around a place like Japan. What if his split time? He's the second up on his best times. This is on track for a 26, but it's going to be enough to beat that 26.6 set by Macedonian. Takes that quite nicely there. Has to kind of turn out of the second last corner. Hugs the inside as much as he can. What will the time be? It'll be a 26.8, 2/10 off pole position, but P2 nonetheless, and on the inside for turn 1, which is important as well. So good result there for Lunsink Mofo, I think, in the end. Honestly, will be the last one across the line, and he's not going to finish his lap. He will start last. So that will be the qualifying sorted. Macedonian from Mofo from Shumatada. They are your top 3. Shumatada with a great lap there. And Suscus and Lucy only set in 1 lap. Good enough for P5 though, which isn't too bad at all. So we'll have to see what the rest of the grid is, because I didn't quite catch outside the top 5. There we are. So we got Artie Cheng's in 6th, just ahead of F1 Boy in 7th. Holden and Dan in P8, but on the medium tyres. We missed that one, so that's not a bad way to start the race, although it's either going to be a real stretch to softs or no tyre life at all on hards. We'll have to see what he does. Dan the Racer and Bretho take out the top 10. Candy Cane in P11, Lahardo, P White, Predictor, Honest and Drow. Drow not setting the time. Honest Cook will start last without setting a real representative lap. So those two on the back of the grid, we'll see if they can make any sort of progress towards the points. If Ferrari want to hang on to that P2 and the constructors, Honest Cook's going to have to store points. So that will be an interesting fight to watch, but chance for Renault to close that gap if Honest Cook is starting that far back. Looks like we've got dry weather, so weather won't play a part in this race, at least the first portion. I haven't got any sort of weather report though for the race, so it'll be an adventure to find out, I guess, but at least initially it will be dry tyres. Apologies, I had that coming for about 30 seconds and it didn't come. We've got that out now. If anyone in chat wants to get a top 3 in for me, then let me know who you think is going to take out the podium. If you're right, I'll give you a photo. That's the regular deal. I'll make sure to flick to these tyres though, so you can see what P11 down start on in terms of their race strategy. Looks like our lobby is not broken, which is a good start. We will get the data up and have a sneaky peek. Okay, so Candy Cane and Lahardo, P11 to 12 will start on softs. They'll have fresh softs, which will be the quickest tyres on the grid. P White is going to start in the hard, so he's going to do the alternate. Predict on the softs. Honest Crook on mediums, which is probably the best race tyre, or the softs aren't too bad either. Then Drow will be on softs at the back, so Drow hopefully can make up some positions at the start, make the most of those fresh tyres, but someone like Kane and Lahardo are going to be some ones to watch at the start of the race on those fresher tyres, with everyone in front of them having slightly older tyres. And P White, not for the first time trying the alternate strat. He's going to have a really hard time keeping up with the guys in front with the compound difference there. Those hards aren't going to be quick, but his pace will come at the end of the race. And we've seen it a couple of times. He can get a safety car in his favour, or if he can stay consistent to his pace, you can reap some pretty nice rewards. So P White, he's going to have to keep it clean for his first stint. He cannot afford front wing damage at all costs, otherwise it'll be 2 more pit stops. But if he can get some consistent times in and possibly stay with some of the guys in front of him on the softer tyres, then he could really come through at the second half of the race. So P White will be one to watch on those medium hard tyres, as are Honest and Hold'em and Dan on the mediums. As I just mentioned, medium to softs is a real stretch. Maybe just possible. Honest Cook will be easier to do because they're fresh mediums as opposed to Hold'em and Dan's old qualifying mediums. Or they could go medium to hard and just have not much pace the whole race, but we'll have to see what they do. My guess is they'll at least attempt to stretch it to softs. But the rest of the grid, I presume, will do a soft hard. If someone's brave, they'll do a soft medium. So we'll see how they go. Coming around the final couple of corners now on their formation lap, so no real issues. No one's being put to the grid, which is a good start. No cold tyres into turn 1, which is going to be chaos. Probably one of the most difficult turn 1 corners on the calendar. Just as I say, no one got disqualified. 2 people have, 2 guys at the back. But yes, turn 1, treacherous, almost flat. People are going to be trying to go through side by side, and it's really hard to control the car with the heavy fuel and the somewhat older tyres on the front guys. So we could see a bit of drama in the first couple of corners here, as hopefully we get a good camera shot for the start of the race. So it could be spicy, the start of the race here. We'll have to keep a close eye on any sort of action that unfolds, but look like we're ready to go as the grid just resorts itself. We've got audio for the 5 lights but no visual. We can just see the corner there. There we go, that's a lot better. And we are underway. Slow start for the McLaren there. Lunacy may jump him off the line. Shumatata already goes defensive and has already lost a couple of positions, but it is Mastoni with a great start on Mofo ahead of Suscus, who's got Lunacy right next to him already as well. And looks like we've got an Alfa Romeo off the track. That's Candy Cane at the back, and we've also got a Red Bull off. That is Predictor, which is not a great start. And Dan the Racer has also gone off, so plenty of calamity at the start. 3 guys already losing out And oh, that is a questionable rejoin there, so lucky that didn't collect anyone. But up the front, Suscuss up into P3, Mofo P2, Mastodon in P1, Lunacy is in P4, making up a position. The Shumatata's had a shocker start down to P7 already, but early on in the race, F1 Boys made up a spot 2 on the back of RD Chanks, who also made the spot after Shumatata's poor start. We've got more yellows, that looks like Candy Cane at the back. He's already struggling massively with probably some hot, dirty tyres. But fairly clean other than those 3. Looks like everyone else has managed to get away fairly well. It's a P White and Drow having a nice side-by-side through here. Drow on the outside of P White, might ride on board here. P White gets through, but Drow on those soft tyres is probably going to have a lot more pace. He's going to go down the inside and kind of push his way, not quite, backs out of it, which is probably smart. He has to wait for a better spot, I think, to make the most of those. As Bretho is in the wall, Drow nearly gets collected by him, but Bretho also with a setback at the start of the race. And what's happened? We've got, I've just got a sound glitch. I was just wondering, I thought I heard some static engine noises, but that's just my sound, my bad. Shumatala and F1 Boy, nice and close together. Macedonian out front. Has not spun it, has he? Good, he hasn't spun it. That's just a glitch there, which is really annoying. He is not down the bottom. Macedonian is still out front. The F1 Boy and the Shumatala, F1 Boy goes deep. Shumatala with the switchback, time to contact. Who's going to yield first? Neither of them will, but Shumatala will be slightly ahead and gets through. Great side-by-side action there. Great car control between the pair of them. Well done there from both of them, as our leaderboard just mucking around a little bit, so don't worry about that for now. Looks like Honest Cook and Lahardo side by side as well. As Honest Cook spun it, he's gone round, which is a real shame for Ferrari there. He's going to lose a lot of positions. And there's also a... Oh, P White's out on the hard tyres. He's put it in the wall. Candy Cane is a 5 seconds speeding, and everything's happening. We have a safety car. Our leaderboard's glitching. We've got people spinning left, right and centre. We've got nice overtakes. We had a bit of everything in the first lap and a half, and now we have a reset with a safety car. Bretho picks up 5 seconds for a collision with Fajardo. And as you can see on the right hand side there is a penalty symbol there. So that tells us that he has a penalty, which is really, really handy. As a spectator, it means we don't have to go check the race director every time we want to know. But everything kicking off at the start of this race, wow. That was interesting, to say the least. Wow. That was a... yeah, time to take a breath, I think. But we do have a safety car now, as F1 Boy, Holder and Dan are swapping on our leaderboard, which you know is not right, but these guys are now getting a chance to breathe and reset a bit. We shouldn't see anyone in the pits. It won't be really viable to pit at this point. Hards won't go to the end. But it gives someone like Predictor and Honest Cook a chance to get back to the train, which is good. Speaking of no one pitting, F1 Boy has pit, as has Lahardo and Bretho and Dan the Racist. They may all have some damage. Actually, the Williams guys are stacking, so Lahardo's going to get a bit shafted here, which is unfortunate. F1 Boy's gone hards. Honest Cook's gone hards. Dan the Racist has gone hards, as has... no, Bretho is on mediums. So Bretho will definitely have to stop one more time. And Lahardo is serving a penalty, and he will put on softs. So Lahardo and Bretho are going to have to stop again. Honest, Dan the Racer and F1 Boy are going to try to go to the end, but honestly I don't think that's going to work. I don't think they're going to make it on hards. But we'll have to wait and see. But 2 DNS already, Candy Cane and P White, which is not what you want to see at the start of the race. So F1 Boy leads the hard runners. But I honestly don't think they'll make it to the end, but we'll have to wait and see on that one. But yeah, what a crazy start. We'll pull up the positions. Oh, that's new. So I'm just checking out Senate Fifth first time. Sorry, the spectator menu. So we can actually see what penalties people have. So Bretho with 5 seconds there, that's a cool little visual. That's really, really handy. And I also discovered when you're driving the car, they come up on the left-hand side of your leaderboard as well for penalties, so super handy. We'll keep that one in mind towards the end of the race when we come and check him. This is what we're after. Drow up 8 positions. He's our biggest gainer so far, and our biggest loser is Shumatata with 3 down, with the exception of Candy Cane who has DNF. A couple of guys losing a couple of positions, but yeah, Shumatata dropping from 3rd to 6th, and everyone else jumping up a position because of that. But yeah, a couple of guys going up and down, but we'll have to see what they can do on the safety car restart. Yeah, in all honesty, I think everyone is going to have to pit again. I don't think anyone can make it to the end. I don't think the hards can quite make it, as these guys have swapped positions. Now they're going to get the glitch where they have to keep returning it. So good one, guys. That's not the way to do it. Hold it and down to pick up the drive through for ignoring yellow flag. Yes, although it is a game glitch, it should be fairly self-explanatory to not overtake under yellows. So that trouble's there again. But anyway, Holtman's now got a drive through, and he was sitting quite nicely in P7 on mediums, so that's going to really hurt his race. Of course, you can't set the drive through till the race restarts again. As Holtman Dan's picked up another 5 seconds for ignoring yellows. That one may be a bit more glitchy, glitch worthy, but just don't swap positions on the safety car. I think that's the lesson of the day. As a Shumatata is, I think these guys are now sorted out. But Hotman Dan will serve the drive through, which will put him last by half a pit stop, which is not ideal for his race. Well, I've done a lot of yelling and frantic talking. Apologies if that was a bit of a messy start to the stream in terms of my comms and whatever. There was just a lot happening. I was trying to capture all of it. There was lots of chaos. But it looks like we've now managed to sort each other out. Hopefully we can get away a little bit cleaner on the safety car restart. It should come in this lap. The whole field is on the train. Daniel in the comments section there giving me penalties for nothing. My guess is that is Hotman Dan. Yes. Although it is a game glitch that they just hand out 5-second penalties on the safety car for fun. If you don't overtake anyone or get overtaken, then you don't have a problem. So I think these guys might need a reminder about that, because that will probably save you a lot of trouble. But Hotman Down now is going to be well on the back foot. He's going to need another safety car to really grab a result here, I think. As the safety car is in this lap, we'll flick to the front as Mastoni will control the field away. We'll see when he goes. The logical place would be to go after the chicane, but he might go earlier or later to try and catch a couple people out. We might actually jump aboard with Mofo here. So we'll get a good gauge of where Mastonian goes. He's going to hold it. He's still holding it, so taking a little bit longer. Safety car's still in the pit lane, so he can't afford to go yet. And he's going to go really late, and he's gone. And Suskas Lucy, RD Cheng, so Suskas getting a bit caught out there possibly. That's got Lucy right at the back of him, and behind we've got Shumatara and RD Cheng's ready to pick up the pieces of any trouble. But the top two are away, and the rest of them have gotten away fairly nicely. So there's a bit of a gap between Honest and F1 Boy. But that's not the worst thing. You'd rather have a bit too much of a gap and be too close to the guy in front, I think. But we are underway cleanly. No one has put it around, as I can see, which is good. So good start there for safety car restart. Mastonian leads away from Mofo, from Suskas, from Lunacy, from RD Chang's to Shumatara. Very familiar names up the front there. So these guys, we'll see what they can do for the rest of the race. Hotman Dan does have that drive through, so he's going to surf that and drop to the back. Retho's also got 5 seconds. So have to be mindful of that towards the end of the race. He'll have to serve that in his next pit stop, which we'll definitely have to take. As I said, I think everyone's going to have to pit again. I don't think those hards are going to make it. I mean, you can try, but they'll be in the 70s by the end of the race, and that is punchy territory, plus they'll have no grip. So I think it would just, if we could do a soft, medium, then a hard. But we'll see what they can do. They might be able to prove me wrong. Hopefully for their sake they can prove me wrong. But looks like Mastonian's broken away from Mofo slightly. Gap's about 9.5 tenths, and if he can keep that, then that would be a great advantage with Mofo not having DRS. But we'll see what they can do. That gap is now 1 second just about, so Mofo's going to need to put in a good lap here to get back within the seconds and not lose DRS. As Hotman Dan is now in the pits, he's going to serve that drive through, so that's a massive shame there on his medium tyres. Alternate strat would have been great to see his progress. Speaking of progress, Lunacy up in P4, we'll see what he can do. Has a bit of race experience around here now. He knows what all the tyres do, so hopefully he can use the strategy to his advantage. But the safety car, he can probably pit a lap or two later and save the mediums. Without a safety car, you'd probably pit in lap 9 or lap 10. But now with the safety car, you can probably stretch that to 11 or 12 if you need. If you're comfortable in the softs. If you're not comfortable, then the mediums will do 16, 17 laps, 18 laps pretty comfortably. We've got yellows. That looks like Retho has gone around. Yeah, he's put it in the wall. And Predictor has, there's been a big crash there actually. Predictor has a 5-second penalty for a collision with Bretho. Now that doesn't normally happen unless there's big contact, so something's happened there. Hotman Dan's gonna not get collected, which is good. Thought for a second he might run into there, but there's been some kind of incident down there, and they've made contact. I thought first that it was just the McLaren going around, but that is not great there. The other McLaren on the back of this lead train still, or second place train, as Macedonia has gone. F1 boy Honest Cook, the leaders of the hard run, the hard guys with Dan the Racer right behind, they've dropped from Ashuma, Tata and Drow, as you would have expected, being on those hard tyres, a lot slower, particularly at the start of their stint. So they can have a bit of work to do to catch back up again. But look, Mofo's almost broken down from Suscuss as well, so Lunacy, I think if Lunacy wants to have any sort of chance of catching the top two, has to get past Suscuss as soon as possible. He's going to need to put in a good lap, because Suscuss is the most lap to get past. ID Chang's behind, probably not quite in a position to overtake Lunacy, so Lunacy probably the most likely to make a move here. Although Drow is also on the back of Ashuma Tata down here. Breatho's in the pits, he's going to repair some front wing damage. We saw him hit that inside wall. No, he's going to retire in the pit lane, so gone from bad to worse there for the McLaren man. That's unfortunate for him. We'll see him back next week, hopefully. Bounce back and get a good result. But one McLaren left in the race only now, 2 enter, 1 leave. Such a shame there. Lunacy on the back of Suscuss. Don't worry about those yellows, that is just the McLaren in the pit lane. But we'll see what Lunacy can do. If you can get a good run through Spoon, you may be able to throw it into the final chicane after 130R. But he's going to need a good run through here. Hits the apex quite nicely. Suscuss runs wide, that'll be a warning, which is not ideal. Lunacy on the power. Suscuss gets a pretty good exit though, which is good. As you've got more yellows, that looks like Predictor has gone around possibly. Not ideal there. But Lunacy on the back of Suscuss, is he close enough to make a lunge? Probably not quite, but he'll have DRS into turn 1, so if we can get a good run out of here, we may see a move. Lunacy hits the apex quite nicely. That's quite a nice line on the power. That is pretty well done. A little bit of understeer on exit though, and that might cost him the chance of getting by. Pit window's open apparently, but I reckon he'll stay out 1 or 2 extra laps. Is Lunacy close enough to throw the nose in? Suscuss sort of defends, sort of doesn't. Lunacy gets a bit distracted, pushed out wide. Suscuss is even wider though. What can Lunacy do? Probably not much through here now. But it looks like Lunacy has got some slightly better race pace at this point in the race. Suscuss struggling a tiny bit. He's dropped the second to Mofo, so those two in front are pretty much gone for now. But Lunacy looks like he's got some great pace here, but stuck. In terms of down the field, looks like Drow still not quite with Ashuma Tata. He's actually dropped a fair bit. He may have just made a little bit of a mistake, but Ashuma Tata's put in a good first sector. He's on the back of Buddy Cheng's now, so turning defense into offense. And behind them, getting nice and close as well between Dan the Racer and Honest Cook for P9. They've got F1 boy just in front as well, so that looks like a nice little battle. Lahado will be trying to catch him on the soft tyres. But we'll jump back up to the battle for P3, as these are the closest 2 guys on the track at the moment. Lunacy, again, Suscuss getting a good exit, which is saving him. So Suscuss is quick where it matters, but Lunacy looks like he's got a bit more 1 lap pace at the moment. Probably got a bit more confidence in those tyres. He's not going to be close enough to throw it again, but he's a lot closer this time. If he can get a great exit here, then he should be able to make a move into turn 1. That is tighter. That's a lot tidier from Lunacy, so this will be the one I think. If he doesn't get him now, and looks like he will, Suscuss won't really fight it too much, not using overtake. So Suscuss knows Lunacy is a bit quicker, and now Lunacy is going to chase after Mofo. Suscuss might just try and follow through here, try and get Lunacy to tag him along. Down the race, getting by Honest Cook as well into turn, or before turn 1 actually, so that move is done for Down the race. So now he's going to want to chase that F1 ball on his hard tyres. Oh, he gets loose, and he's kept it out of the gravel, which is a good effort there. But he's just lost that position he just gained, which is not ideal. He's going to run wide now. So Down the race, unfortunately, getting that move done, but making a slight mistake there, letting Honest Cook back through. That's kind of allowed the harder back in. Ashuma Tata gets 3 seconds. You can see there that little penalty sign pops up next to the name. So we can see there Ashuma Tata is the first of the top 11 to get a penalty, which could hurt him at the end of the race, but I wouldn't be surprised to see a couple of guys pick up 3 or 6 seconds trying to push the track limits. There are a couple of places where it's incredibly easy to run wide, although not many places where you gain a lot of time, so most warnings around here will be quite sloppy. Not really necessary warnings. Probably Spoon's the most likely to get a penalty, as well as the 2 curves. I'll just quickly Google the name. I think I called them Degners first. I think they're the Dunlops. I apologise if I'm incorrect. No, I'm right. It is the Degners. So my apologies there. It is Degners. I was right the first time. They're the two right-handers after the S section. I don't know what I'm thinking. Dunlop, that's probably another corner. So my mistake there. I'm not doing a lot of research, but yeah, the Degners. That's probably the next most likely place to pick up those warnings. So gonna have to be careful there. In terms of progress up here, Lunacy not quite getting within the second of Mofo yet. Sasuka still sticking with Lunacy, probably to save a bit of ERS. It looks like he's doing. P White's left, he's out of the race already, unfortunately getting put in the wall or making his own mistake. Couldn't quite catch what happened there for P White, but that's going to hurt the constructors a little bit as well, as it's now 2v1 with Ferrari versus Renault. But Mofo does have the trap position at the moment. So as they stand, Mofo's going to outscore Ferrari by 1 point, but very early stage, running just over the 1/3 part of the race. And now we might see some pit stops. If anyone wants to try and get an undercut, we might see a pit stop now. Otherwise, maybe one more lap. We'll jump up to Macedonian though. I want to see whether he decides to pit or not, because pitting could put him in a bit of traffic, but the fresh tyres might save him from an attempted undercut from the guys behind. But if I was Macedonian, I'd probably stay out if I was comfortable on the tyres. And I'm not Macedonian, he's going to pit. As will Mofo. Lunacy stays, no he pits, Sasuka stays out. So lap 10, end of lap 10 looks like the way to go for these guys. RD Cheng's Shumatata will also stay out. So I wonder where these guys will come out. Macedonian and Co. Still in the pit lane there. He's going to put on the hard tyres. As will Mofo. Lunacy's got mediums, as has Drow. Now, mediums will make it. I can confirm mediums will make it. But towards the end of the race, the hards might be slightly quicker, but I think the mediums are the way to go. So Macedonian on hards. Although when saying that, we have seen Macedonian do some pretty crazy things on hards. It always seems to find some good pace in them. We'll have to see what he can do, but Lunacy is going to be one to watch. He's already all over the back of 1/6 Mofo. Those means he's going to be much better than the hards for the first, at least half of the stint. So Lunacy on a really good strat, I think here actually. The mediums are going to be pretty comfortable to the end. That is a cut, that will probably be a warning for Lunacy, but look how much more grip he's got the Mofo right on this tail. He might be able to get him out the hairpin with the traction if he's got enough confidence on the power. Hits that apex quite nicely, floors on the power. Tad wide, Mofo gets a good exit as well. But Lunacy should be the quickest man on track at the moment, fresh mediums. So Lunacy's played himself well into this race with the strat. He just has to make the most of it now while he's got the grip. And you see Mofo struggling a bit to turn in on the hard tyres. Lunacy should be able to get this move done pretty comfortably. Mofo's probably not going to fight it too hard. Drow picks up the time penalty, which is not ideal. Mofo will just get Lunacy past. And theoretically, maybe from Mofo, will drag him towards Macedonian, as those two are on the same strat now on the hard tyres. But Lunacy now into P9, which is effectively P2. He's now going to have a bit of pace to chase down Macedonian. Shumatata's pit also for mediums, so that's also a good strat there. I wonder how many of these guys did some research before the race. But yeah, mediums I think are the call. That could potentially be a race winning call for Lunacy and Mofo. He may struggle to hang on to Lunacy at least for the initial part of this stint. Particularly for this X section, this is where the grip's going to really play into Lunacy's hands, as with sector 2 where all the corners and traction zones are. And you can see it's already nearly 1 second, so Lunacy with plenty of pace on his medium tyres, looking very good. We'll jump with Shumatata, who's right at the back of Drow here. Both these guys did pit the same lap. Shumatata's dropped a bit though. I wonder if he's had a front wing change or something, or he's served. No, he didn't have a 5-second penalty, so I'm not sure why Shumatata has dropped a tiny bit. Drow gets loose, and that's going to let Shumatata through. Drow has spun it, and he's in the wall, and he's probably got a bit of damage. No, I think he's gotten away with that somehow. He doesn't have visual damage there, but that's annoying there for Drow in the Mercedes, having made a spin. He's now going to drop 10 plus seconds behind Shumatata, and his tyres are nice and hot. He's spun again. That will probably be damaged now. No, it's not. That Mercedes is absolutely indestructible. Okay, that thing's made of something else. But Gerard, he's going to have to chill out his tyres a tiny bit because those hot tyres are not going to be good at all. Top guys are in. Suscast on mediums, as is Artie Chang. They've got to come out behind. Dan the Race picks up 3 seconds, but look at this, Lunacy already on the back of Macedonian here. So, looks like Lunacy has got plenty of pace. Mofo's just dropped a second, but has actually not dropped too far back yet, which is promising for him. But Lunacy all over the back of Macedonian for what is effectively the race lead. The top 4 guys probably not being able to go to the end. But that's going to be a very close call. They may attempt to. He's got yellows, and Drow has retired from the session. That is in the wall, I think, at 130R, and that has caused the virtual safety car. That's an interesting place to have crashed. Where has he done it? Oh, he's on the outside there, so that's unfortunate from Drow. That's going to bring out VSC, as Drow has left the session now. So 12 runners left in this race. See who can stay closest to the Delta, who dares to, but who, yeah, you got to be careful without getting penalty to stay close to that Delta as you can. But yeah, another kind of mini reset now for these guys. I suspect Lunacy will be quite quick after the virtual safety car, as those mediums will warm up a lot quicker than those hards. I reckon they might be fairly handy. Lahardo, if he pits now, he's going to get a bit of a benefit there. Not having lost as much time under a VSC as you normally would. But he's decided not to pit for some reason, and he's picked up a drive-through, so Lahardo not quite playing his hand probably as effectively as he could, but he's now got to drive through on those soft tyres. I'm not sure why he wouldn't pit, unless you're trying to stretch it for more softs, which you can probably do if he stays out another lap or two, but he's shot himself the foot there, and he's now got these two catching nice and close behind. Lunacy on the back of Macedonian, not close enough to make a move into 1 and 2, but you can see he's got a bit more turn in here. The Macedonian is hitting his apexes quite nicely there, which is quite good for him. On those hard tyres, it looks like he's got some half decent pace, which is great to see for Macedonian. On those hard tyres, that could really help him at the end of the race. Shumatara right in the back of Artie Chang's for P10. Shumatara does have that 3-second penalty though, which is unfortunate. As all Artie Chang's goes wide, then he's done well to save that. Actually has the racing point man. Teammate down the race is still out at the front, but once again, I'm not sure if those hards are going to make it to the end. It's going to be a close call, but we'll see what he can do. We'll jump back to Lunacy there in the Ferrari, on the back of Macedonian, although Macedonian's put in a decent little sector, so it looks like Macedonian's got the pace to defend from Lunacy for now, and if you do it now, then you should be able to do it in the race when those hards have a bit better tyre life, but we'll have to see what Lunacy can do. A lot later on the brakes there, the grip of the mediums working in his favour. Using that DRS, but I don't think he's quite close enough. Lahardo does pit now for that drive-through. Lunacy gets the quickest lap of the race just after Macedonian. As looks like Predictor is in the wall. I think that's a Red Bull there. Yes, it is. He's had another accident, which is unfortunate. Hotman Dan will also pit, dropping himself way down the field. Got a couple of yellows around the track, but they have now cleared up. Superfan Arjun is in the chat. Welcome, buddy. Unfortunately missed the start. There was a bit of chaos, which makes things interesting for us, but such for the drivers. A couple of DNFs already. A couple of guys on the wall, but some really good battling as well so far. So with 12 laps still left in the race, plenty of time for things to happen. F1 boy Orange Cook down the race are pitting under an early safety car. They're going to attempt to go to the end, but it's going to be very treacherous at the end of the race. I suspect these two and One Sick Mofo will catch them. Macedonian, Lunacy and Mofo all having pit and being able to go to the end. Yeah, definitely watch that replay when it pops up. But yeah, the start was pretty crazy. Lots of yelling on my part. But yeah, these guys now well into a battle. Macedonian from Lunacy. Lunacy on the medium tyres doing something a bit different to the other two in front and behind him on the hard tyres. So good call on the strat. We'll have to see whether it pays off. That's pretty much what the race has been so far. There's still plenty of guys with different strats. Harder will have to pit again, and I think the top three may have to pit again. But otherwise, everyone else is going to the end. Hotman Dan's put on more hards, which I'm not sure why you do that. You can probably make softs go to the end at this point, unless he has no new set. but Lunacy not quite close enough to Macedonian. We might have a look up here though. Honest Crook, the other Ferrari, he's on the back of F1 boy. These two fighting for the lead, and if they can make their tyres go to the end, then it could be for effective P1 here. So we can't really count these two out, even if they are probably going to get caught by the guys behind. But these guys putting on a decent race, making a brave call to go hard and go to the end. They're going to be absolutely cooked, those tyres. But massive props to them for trying it. But you can see the gap between Macedonian and Dan the Racer dropping massively. That gap's dropped about 3 seconds in the last 3 laps. So Macedonian and Lunacy and Mofo, we'd expect to get them. Suscus is 3 seconds behind Mofo's. He's kind of there but not quite there in this race. Then Artie and Shumatada having a bit of a battle still again. But Dan the Racer is now on the back of Honest Crook as well. So these three, look at Honest Crook's made a mistake. He's dropped a bit behind F1 boy. We were on board there, wasn't the cleanest lap we saw there from Honest Crook. If these guys were to pit again, now would be the time to make the most of some softs. If they don't pit in the next 3 laps, then we'll have to assume they're going to the end. But you can see Macedonian and Lunacy now closing in on the 3 of them. I do expect them to catch them by the end of the race, but in terms of getting past them, that's going to be a lot easier said than done. This track is quite difficult to get past. It is difficult to follow through the first sector, particularly with the aero wash on the cars. And you can really hurt your fronts following another car for too long, which is probably going to hurt Lunacy's tyres if he's right behind Macedonian for too long. But there are some overtaking spots. As Lunacy's got a mega run here, he's going to have a look here. He's going to be brave to do it. No, he slots back in. That would be a suicidal attempt, I think, to go down the inside there. Only if you've got an absolute mega run would you probably think about doing that. But Lunacy having a great run out of the S's there, and they're both in the grass in the braking zone, which is not the place you want to be. But you can see the guys ahead of them now, which might affect this battle. Whoever can get through this traffic the quickest may be on track to win it. We can see on the right hand side there, they don't have penalties to Macedonian, Lunacy and Mofo, so it is a fair fight on track for now. But yeah, traffic will just throw another spanner into the works for these guys. It's not going to make things any easier. We should probably mention Mofo as well right behind. He's stuck quite well with Lunacy, so he cannot be counted out either. And Mofo, it's going to be up to these two primarily to stop Macedonian from winning this championship. Macedonian is doing everything he needs right now, not coming under direct pressure from Lunacy. He's doing all he needs to extend that lead over them. Honest Crook is nice and close to F1 boy, but not close enough to make a move. He just did a PB lap actually on those hards, so they're starting to really come to him. They do phase, they feel nice for the first few laps, then they feel rubbish for the next few, and then they start feeling nice again. That's the way the hard tyres work, and it looks like they're starting to come back to those guys, which is going to help them in their defence of Macedonian and Lunacy. Seeing down the race, they're struggling. Predictor picks up 3 seconds for cutting at the Deacons. Unfortunately, they're just ahead, and Predictor's probably going to get lapped soon. Although if he puts some laps together, he may be able to stay on the lead lap. But you see Macedonian and Lunacy right on the tail of these guys now, so that's just going to play, yeah, throw another kind of curveball at them, having to deal with this traffic. Top 6 now all nice and close together. Everyone in the top 5 will have DRS in each other, and Mofo will probably have DRS as well if these guys get a little bit held up. So these guys really converging a lot now. F1 boy, Honest Crook, Dan the Racer, Macedonian, Lunacy and Mofo. Suscus, Artie, Shumatada. Fairly large gaps between them, and a massive gap back to Hotman and Dan, who unfortunately did get that drive through after the safety car. Lahardo and Predictor have had a couple of adventures. But this battle is the one to watch. No one able to make a move here. Although, was that down the racer locking up slightly? It was. Can Macedonian get a move done here? Problem is they're all going to have DRS on each other, so it's not going to be an easy move. Lunacy dropped back a tad. Can anyone make a move? Honest Crook is close to F1 boy. He's going to send it. He's going to think about it. F1 boy runs a bit wide, gives him a bit of space, but that move's not on. Down the racer right behind as well. Macedonian, Lunacy still following. Not able to have a look through there. Honest Crook's wide. That's going to let Down the Racer have a look, but he's going to not quite get that move stuck. And now Macedonian, after Down the Racer runs wide, you can see how compromised these guys now are. All of them with the lines being under pressure. You can see if you stuff up one, it's going to hurt you for the rest of the run. As look at Down the Racer all over the back of Honest Crook here. So these guys getting nice and close together. which is fantastic to watch for us, but incredibly frustrating for Macedonian, Lunacy and Mofo on the much better tyres at this phase. Down the race on Cook and F1 Boy 15 lap old mediums, which won't be as nice as the 7 lap old mediums on Macedonian and Mofo, and the 7 lap old the 7 lap old hards on Macedonian and Mofo, and the 7 lap old mediums on Lunacy. So we'll see who can make a move first. Macedonian almost pushing down the racer through Spoon, who's almost pushing on his foot through. So I think the big difference here is consistency is pace. Consistency of pace. These guys struggling to put some clean laps together, and this battling is not going to help them either. But honestly, have a look at down the racer. He's not going to go late at the brakes, but can't quite get anything done. Nothing doing there. But down the racer, Honest Cook's in the pit, so he's decided those mediums, those hards, aren't going to make it to the end. So that's a big call there. I reckon it might be the right call, as Macedonian's finally going to get down the inside down the racer, who puts up a bit of a fight but can't ultimately defend. And now Lunacy's going to need to get past down the racer as soon as possible before Macedonian gets a gap. And down the racer's not going to be able to. Lunacy can't quite get past down the racer, putting the car in the right spot to defend. But Lunacy now getting frustrated, probably. As he's going to see Macedonian running up the road and look behind. Mofo is back within the second. So Lunacy needs to clear this racing point as soon as possible. Macedonian not quite close enough to F1 Boy either, who's probably got the most consistent pace of those three guys. But Honest Cook now on fresh softs in P9, he's going to have a lot of pace, and he might be able to close up a bit of a gap. Maybe I'll jump these guys if their tyres don't last. But you can see Lunacy struggling to get by down the racer, struggling in that hairpin. We've seen him a couple of times losing the back end under the brakes in mid-corner, so possibly running a bit less rear wing than he may have liked, possibly just getting off the brakes a bit too eagerly. But Lunacy, what can he do in terms of a run here? Talking about a run, look at Macedonian, he's going to get F1 Boy here. We've got a lap car ahead as well, which should go out of the way, so that won't be a factor. But Macedonian, almost no ERS, it looks like he's been pushing to get by these guys, but he's not quite close enough. He's going to send one. He's going to go to the inside. He's going to not quite send one. That lap car needs to get out of the way because they are not racing them, even though they are ghosted. F1 Boy is going to stay ahead, but Lunacy's still behind down the race. Macedonian should be able to get a move done into turn 1 here. F1 Boy fakes the inside, goes back outside. Macedonian down at the inside. Has to back out of it. F1 Boy goes a bit wide. And that is a very close call. Lunacy can't quite get past down the racer either, and that's why the car still goes, because Predictor is an AI. As Lunacy gets down the racer, a slight push through the S's. Hopefully Predictor's AI car goes away. It doesn't affect this battle too much. Mount Mofo just behind as well. He's going to have to clear this Red Bull sooner rather than later. But you can see Macedonian still right in the back of F1 Boy. But neither Macedonian or Lunacy are able to make moves. That's one less lap Lunacy has to catch Macedonian, one less lap for Macedonian to pull away. In terms of the championship, this is big, because if Macedonian wins this, that gap's going to look incredibly terrifying to catch up. He's already got a race in hand, does Macedonian over Mofo. So that, yeah, I mean, now's crunch time for the likes of Mofo to challenge for that championship. So he needs to try and take as many points away from Macedonian as he can, but Macedonian is in the prime position to make sure that doesn't happen. As you can see down the race, is still within DRS of Macedonian, which is ultimately costing Lunacy the chance of a run. But F1 Boy, his pace is consistent enough not quite come under direct pressure. As I say that, he's really binned it by himself, but he's hung on to it. Macedonian, if he can get a run here, he should be able to get by. He's a lot closer than last time, and this should be the lap. F1 Boy, I don't think he's going to have much to defend with. Macedonian already alongside and should be ahead in the braking zone. F1 Boy's going to try and hold it around the outside, goes wide, takes 3 seconds for it. But Macedonian is now clear, which is massive for the race and for the championship, as Lunacy is still stuck behind down the racer, which will be incredibly frustrating for him, I'm sure. Honest Cook does the fastest lap in those fresh softs, as expected. He's going to have to make a pace. Yeah, F1 Boy down the racer, 18 laps now on those hards. They're going to be hurting a bit now. And they've still got 5 laps to do, so you can see him struggling, as looks like Predictor has gone off, which is not ideal. So maybe he's not quite an AI yet. I'm not quite sure what's happening there. Or down the racer gets close to F1 Boy, and Lunacy's going to sneak down the inside. Can he get the power down? Not quite. On the outside, down the racer has the run. But he's going to get by F1 Boy. And F1 Boy's put him in the wall. Down the racer is out of contention for that podium, possibly with damage now, and that is
big there. F1 Boy is going to cop a penalty for that, moving in the middle of the straight. So that is not on from F1 Boy. He's going to get a big penalty for that, I think. But now Lunacy is going to be all over the back of F1 Boy. Yeah, I'm not too impressed about that defense in F1 Boy. Is doing so well to hang on, racing really cleanly, and then that was unfortunately just completely his fault, and that's killed down the racer's chance of a really solid result. Now F1 Boy is right. Oh, he's going to go into the pits actually. And he's going to just get the car stopped in time, but finally Lunacy and Mofo are released. But Mofo is now going to run on Lunacy. Lunacy had to back off the throttle there to avoid getting collected in the pit entry. Mofo is now through in P2. Lunacy in P3. Suscast has caught these guys and all that scuffling. So Lunacy will be so frustrated there, I think, not being able to get past the guys when he had the chance, and now lost track position to Mofo, which is not going to be easy to get back knowing Mofo's pace. Suscast now in this battle as well, so it hasn't quite worked out for Lunacy. Who it has worked out for though is Macedonian, 1.4 second lead. And on those hard tyres, they're going to be fairly similar on pace to the mediums, I think, of Lunacy. So Macedonian's put himself in the best spot to win this race, I think, now, track position and also how the tyres have worked out. But F1 Boy and Down the Race are both pitting. Down the Race had to pit, of course, for getting that damage. He's come out a bit behind F1 Boy, so it might be fair in the end of the race if those two swap positions. F1 Boy will get a penalty to drop behind him, I think. But that's just unfortunate there for Down the Race. A total victim in that. F1 Boy far too aggressive and moving across there to defend that, and he's just put him in the wall. That's a shame there because F1 Boy is driving a great race. But now none of those guys in those old Haas have really been able to get to the end of the race. F1 Boy's tyres must have been pretty cooked. And Honest Cook's managed to jump the pair of them because he pitted early. So Honest Cook decided that those hards weren't going to work. He decided first he came to the pits and he's made the most of the softs and is now clear of the other two. As Lunacy and Suscast now going side by side, Lunacy loses another position now. Suscast looks like those mediums aren't quite working for him now. Suscast now in P3. Lunacy off the podium for now. These top four don't have penalties. Schumacher and Artie Changs. Schumacher now into the top 5 on Artie Changs, but we'll pull up the penalties just. They've both got 3 seconds of penalties. Behind F1 Boy and Down the Race, they also have 3 seconds. Honest Cook is clean. So he might catch these two if they keep fighting actually, but it looks like a Schumacher is now clear. But yeah, that was a pretty crazy last kind of 6-7 laps just there. As those quick guys closed in on those guys trying to stay out on hard tyres, but ultimately not quite working out for a lot of them. I might quickly just flick to the Red Bull to see if he's in AI or if he's actually racing. Looks like he's actually racing now, which is good. Lahardo, Holtman and Dan, 6-second gaps in front each. They've had races to forget. Holtman and Dan with that calamity under the safety car getting 5-second plus a drive through. Down the Race and F1 Boy getting collected by each other. Honest Cook pitting early. Artie Cheng, Schumacher nice and close. Lunacy, Suscast, Mofo and Macedonian. Speaking of, look at this. Mofo is on the back of Macedonian. He's got great pace. He's suddenly come alive on these hard tyres. We're just running through the grid there and just noticed that gap has dropped massively. Looks like Suscast's mediums, 11 laps old, 2 laps newer than Lunacy's, are still nice, but Mofo has made up the ground on Macedonian. And this is important for the championship. If Mofo can take some points in Macedonian, it goes a long way in closing that ultimate championship gap, which is currently 27 points, I believe, but I'll double check that quickly. F1 Boys is the quickest lap of the race. 27 points is the gap in the championship between Macedonian and Mofo, with the Haas in the ultimate position, the favourable position at the moment, leading the Renault. But if Mofo can nick a couple of points off here, 7 points, that's a quarter of what he needs to get this championship back. So Mofo looking like he's got some great pace. Suscast's still there. Lunacy looks like his tyres are dropping a little bit now. He doesn't have the pace of these top 3 now. So Lunacy's lost a potential podium, I think, now. But if these guys get nice close together, anything can really happen. So Lunacy's got to stick in there and finish this race that strong. Mofo not quite close enough to Macedonian yet. In terms of ERS, Mofo's got a bit more ERS. Suscast doesn't have that much. So Mofo has a bit more to play with here, and he's actually closing in massively here. Can he make a move into the chicane? Not quite. He's going to go late in the brakes again. Lifts off the brakes actually slightly. Unfortunately, he's gone a bit deep, and that's going to hurt his run down the main straight, so probably won't be able to make an overtake now. No, it's going to be too far back. Lucy has now got 1.7 seconds Suscuss in between them. Not close enough to make a move either, but not under pressure from Lunacy behind. ID Chang's and the Shumatara still within a second as well. That gap to Honest Crook's leveled a bit, so it doesn't look like Honest Crook's quite going to catch him, and he's also picked up a penalty. The last couple of laps too has Honest Crook, so that's not going to help his chances either. P5 to P9 all at 3 seconds, so that is an even fight. And Holderman Dan is too far back to capitalise, so at the moment penalties won't change any of the results as you see him now. But what can change is on track. Lewis picked up 30 seconds in saying that actually, so that's not going to affect the ultimate final results because he's got a big gap behind, but that's just a bit of salt in the wounds for what could have been potential really strong results. I mean, a P4 is still strong, but Lunacy would have felt that he could have had a chance at the lead, possibly if that lap traffic hadn't been there and he'd been able to make the most of those medium tyres while they were the best. But unfortunately with that traffic as well as Macedonian's consistency, Lunacy wasn't quite able to make a move, and now he's just dropped a fair bit of time. And yeah, I'm not sure if Lunacy's got enough in the tank to really fight back, but we're now on the penultimate lap actually. We've got one more lap left, so Mofo's going to have to go now. He's going to have to dump everything he's got. He's going to be in DRS, but he needs to get himself in a position to make an overtake. Down here might be his best chance, but I think Macedonian's got him covered. Around the final corner for the second last time, onto the final lap of the race. What has Mofo got to fight with Macedonian? Really important for the championship, as I've mentioned multiple times, as it's really crunch time in this championship. Down the race picks up 3 seconds again, that's not going to help him. He's going to be close to losing P9 to Holderman Dan actually. But Mofo and Suscuss nice and close together. Lunacy's had a poor sector there, he's dropped another half second somehow. Actually, ID Chang's is right back to Shumatara as well, but not quite close enough to make a move. So we'll flick back to the top guys. Mofo on the back of Macedonian, but no real overtaking zone through here at all. You can get a mega run out of here, possibly into the hairpin, but it's really hard to do. Macedonian gets a nice run, and we'll stay ahead. Heavy on the brakes. Mofo stays behind. Suscuss still right there as well. We can't quite cut Suscuss out either yet. His mediums are still okay by looks of things, so they haven't quite dropped in pace. So if anything happens to these two, Suscuss can capitalise. But with only a couple of corners left, it's really down now Macedonian to nail his lines, make sure he doesn't make any mistakes out of the spoon curb. Looks like he's done okay there, riding forward with Mofo. He's actually going to be really close here. Has he got the run? Macedonian has no ERS to play with. Mofo with the run, he's going to have a shot here actually. Macedonian's going to have to defend the inside. Or as Mofo nearly gets loose, he's going to defend the inside. Mofo goes outside. Bit of late movement for the pair of them, and neither of them are going to be able to make a move done. Macedonian is going to hang on, and he's going to win the Japanese Grand Prix. Suscuss will take P3, so it's a half sandwich. Mofo the meet in the middle. Actually, Suscuss has jumped Mofo there due to a glitch. We'll record that. I believe with the new update, we have a slight glitch where some cars randomly get lapped. So I'll note that down. But final results: Macedonian from Mofo from Suscuss make up the podium. Unfortunately, that lap glitch Mofo's going to drop to the back, but we will get that redressed for the final results. But well done to those guys. Lunacy not quite having the pace there, having to settle for P4, which is really unfortunate. Holderman Dan is going to just hang on. He's not going to be close enough to get down the race just, so Holderman Dan will take the final point. Lajardo will be the last one to finish, coming around the final corner now. But Macedonian with a strong win there. Well done to him, getting that result, having to fight off some intense pressure from Lunacy for the middle phase of the race, and then for Mofo at the end of the race, and even his teammate getting involved there. So that was quite crazy there. But yeah, Macedonian coming out on top, and it will be a Haas 1-3. We'll ignore Lunacy on the podium there, as Mofo did get P2, and will stay there. We'll make sure that is redressed at the end of the race. But well done to those guys after what was quite a chaotic race there. Lots and lots of stuff happening. A couple of big incidents. I think Mofo would be bit disappointed to not see that Renault on the podium for the celebrations, but he definitely earned that P2. But that championship lead is now going to be extended from Macedonian to well over a race. It'll be about a race and a half in hand now. So Macedonian well on his way to winning the title, from pole, taking the win. Suscuss P3
P3, Mofo with the 1 lap glitch there, he will be in P2 come all of it. Lunacy not quite working out for him. Mashumatata, Artie, Honest Cook, F1 Boy, having taken out Dan the Racer, I won't be surprised if F1 Boy gets a fat penalty for that. Holtman Dan will take the final point. Lahardo will miss out on the points just, unfortunately. Predicted Drow, Bretho, P White and Candy Cane. Predicted did finish, but the bottom 4 did not. So yeah, bit of chaos and calamity, but that's that. What an absolute crazy race. Yeah, as I mentioned in the championship, that gap will now be 34 points between Macedonian and Mofo, so a lot of work for the Renault to do. And in terms of the constructors, that's going to extend Haas's lead by a lot more, having 2 cars on the podium, and then the other Renault not finishing the race. So Haas probably have this constructors wrapped up, and Macedonian as well on his way to getting that drivers, but we'll probably leave it there. We've got 4 rounds left, just 4, so not long left for these drivers to really make a difference in this championship, but we'll have to see how they go. For the upcoming races, we do have the US of A next week, same time, same place. Make sure you tune in if you want to see these guys' previous races. Go suss out the Race Spec YouTube channel. If you want to see more from Race Spec, go check out the other tiers as well, 5 Pacific tiers, as well as a couple of Euro and Americas tiers, plus the Global Elite, and then the F2 series as well. So plenty of racing on the F1 Race Spec YouTube channel. Make sure you check all of that good stuff out, but we'll leave it there. 4 rounds left. It's going to be a banger of a final round, the final couple of rounds, so really looking forward to it. Have a lovely evening, and we'll catch you later. Cheers guys.